Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Data Playbook. Here we're going through the Week 10 Sunday games, so let's get into the next preview. Looking into our next matchup, you have Jacksonville going to Houston, where Houston is just barely favored on the money line, with a spread of 1.5 and a total line of 37.5. Moving over for your averages, just so that we can then look into the rankings, so that we have Houston here, very good defensively again, with the best team at preventing their opponents from scoring, and an allowed passing rank of 4, an allowed rushing rank of 7, and an allowed tight end rank of 5. So maybe either top third to top quarter in the league for Houston across the board on defense. Their offense, however, can't say the same thing, with about an average of passing rank, a little under average rushing rank, and a bottom third scoring rank. So they're not very good at scoring for themselves in the end. With Jacksonville, you have bits and pieces here in pockets with an allowed rushing rank of 4, so they're pretty good at stopping the rush. A rushing rank of 10, so top third team at rushing. A passing rank at 16 puts them about average. And then everything else is about average or below. Allowed scoring rank of 18, but then the scoring rank of 21, allowed passing rank of 26, and then the tight ends are not very good. As always, starting off, you have Trevor Lawrence and CJ Stroud, with Lawrence averaging 16.6 fantasy points per game this season, and Stroud averaging 15.1. Trevor Lawrence has 6 passing interceptions this season, with 1 other rushing fumble loss. CJ Stroud has 5 interceptions this season with no other turnovers. So we'll look at their season averages and their weekly breakdowns, as well as how much they impact the rushing game. So you have Trevor Lawrence with his 4.8 average carries, which equates to 19.6% of the team's carry share. And over here with CJ Stroud, who gets 3.6 average carries per game, which equates to 14.7% of the team's total carry share. And moving on to the running backs, you have Travis Etienne and Nick Chubb, with Travis averaging 13.5 fantasy points per game and Nick Chubb averaging 7.8. With no turnovers, we'll just go into the averages and then look at their carry share, with Travis getting almost 60%, 59.8% of the team's total carry share. And we can see that his backup Tootin is getting about 20.6% of the team's total carry share. And over here with Houston, you have Nick Chubb with 46% of the team's total carry share, with also much of that going to the backup, with 34% going to Woody Marks. For your number 1 receivers in this game, you have Jacoby Myers and Nico Collins, because Brian Thomas Jr. is out. So Jacoby Myers averages 9.7 fantasy points per game, while Nico Collins averages 13. Nico Collins is also the only one with a turnover, with 1 receiving fumble this season. So then we look at their averages and their weekly breakdowns. Unfortunately, with Jacoby Myers and being traded, he doesn't have too much history yet, so he doesn't really have too much for the receiving share on Jacksonville. Most of it's left back with Vegas. And over here with Nico Collins on Houston, he gets about 22.7% of the team's total receiving share, which is just barely the largest of anybody else on the team. So then looking at the number 2 receivers, you have Parker Washington, who's been moved up, and Christian Kirk. Washington averages 8.5 fantasy points per game this season. Christian Kirk averages 6.9 fantasy points per game this season. Again, with no turnovers, we'll look at the averages. And down here with Parker Washington, he gets about 16.1% of the team's total receiving share. And with Christian Kirk, he gets about 7.4% of the team's receiving share, which is a little small for being the number 2 receiver. And then wrapping up with the tight ends here, you have Johnny Munt and Dalton Schultz, with Munt averaging only 1.1 fantasy points per game and Dalton Schultz averaging 9.5. Part of the reason that Johnny Munt is in is because I have Hunter Long listed as out, so I assume that he'll be the one that steps up, but just be aware of that Hunter Long may be the one that also starts if somehow they get him in. So then we'll just look at their averages and their breakdown. Down here with Johnny Munt getting such a small slice that we can't really even see it. Probably about 1% or so. But over here with Schultz, in a much larger share of the pie, he gets 21.1% of the team's total receiving yards, which is the second largest on the team. So this seems like this could be a pretty low-scoring game, especially with these both allowed scoring ranks being higher than their scoring ranks, meaning that they're both going to struggle to score on each other. The big thing will be is if Jacksonville can get any offense going against this really good defense, because even if Houston gets a little bit going against a more subpar defense, they could probably pull off the win over what Jacksonville might be able to pull off. But I guess we'll just have to see how this one turns out. So that's all I have for this game today. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, leave a like and subscribe, and leave a comment on what else you might want to see in the future. Other than that, thank you so much for watching.